Hello and welcome to the Ultimate Pool Pairs Cup Week 12 highlight show. We've got 8 more players in action. Greg Batten is the only Ultimate Pool professional. He is joined by one of the leading challengers in Jez Graham. Up against them, Andrew Butler, Ed Kennywood, Luke Bowery and Adam Toms, Ben Swinton and Pat Ward. Let's get straight into the action and our first match, which is Bowery and Toms versus Swinton and Ward, who won the opening frame, and we join Pat Ward with a break in frame 2.
But it's all good experience for coming into a night like tonight, having that taste of playing on the main table. Okay, different arena, different area, but same setup can only help you. And wow, that's some break.
Yeah, if he's going to break like that tonight, his duo might have some serious success.
It's difficult to sort of look past our big pairing tonight. There's obviously on paper, you know, they're the favourites for the group, and rightly so. Everything they've achieved, especially for Jez this year, who's riding a crest of a wave in terms of form. But this Swinton and Ward partnership does look very good. And it's never that easy for favourites to go ahead and sort of stamp their authority on nights like tonight, where it's short races, it's a very volatile format. I think they could come in here and kind of just get themselves off to a bright start. They could cause a bit of a shock here. Nothing really
thinking of just bumping this yellow at the table.
Yeah, nothing really doing here. It's just a case of connecting the dots once again. Would have been good if he could have left the red he's next to as last ball, and he still might be able to, but I think it's not worth the risk now, because if he drops it in and he leaves angle on the one at the top of the table, as in if he goes at the top of the table now, then he has to be straight in on the one to the bottom left to get on this one nicely. So I think doing the right thing from where he's been to take it out of the way, it does mean you need a good positional shot on your last ball. And it may well have been easier to have the one at the top of the table as the last ball. Also, doesn't need to get that good on the 8 ball, because the 8 ball does go off the yellow at the bottom of the table as well.
Yeah, you can see where he lined his cue up a moment ago. Uses all the parts of the pocket just to straighten that angle up. And he's got a couple of ways he can go about it here.
Yeah, I would say just try not to get too good on the 8 ball for a change. Don't risk getting right behind it. Just beat the yellow and you're not going to miss it with a big pocket.
Lovely. Referee Orich Tesco right in on that one just to make sure there was no foul, but he's been perfect in this visit. Once again, Pat Ward, who looks razor sharp.
Yeah. Tell you what, that break.
Yeah, kept it on the table this time, and look at the split again.
Yeah, impressive. Very, very impressive. Yeah, the pool's not certainly been in the forefront of his mind recently, but he actually said he hasn't really been playing at all for a few years now. But we're seeing this more and more with Ultimate Pool. Ultimate Pool are creating a place where people want to play and come out of retirement or come back and start playing. And this is a lovely chance. 8 ball's the trickiest ball on the table to get to. So how's he going to go about it? The access to the one nearest the 8 ball, the red's blocking the angle you want, so you're going to be, if you leave the one nearest the triangle area last ball, then you're going to have loads of angles, so you're going to have to probably go on and off the side cushion. It's a touchy shot to judge. Not a great last ball because of it, but I think he's going to have to accept that's the way he's going to go.
Unless he plays short position on it.
Yeah.
Goes bottom right.
Short position works.
And he's got the perfect angle, just drop him behind it here.
No, he's gone the way I was saying, but I like your choice. I like short position, because if he gets the cue ball to the rail, then it's just drop it in.
Got to play a good positional shot here then. And he has. Nicely executed. Although he'd have loved to have been a little bit further over if he's hypercritical. The only reason why is it might be slightly awkward cueing. Yeah, just slightly. Missable. Missable. And what a chance this is for Swinton and Ward to get themselves 3-0 up. maybe just a few inches further over to the left side of the table as we look at it. It makes the pot easier as it's not as thin, and it makes the queuing easier as it's not as awkward, and I don't think he goes close to missing it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I really do. Ben should run these through with without any fuss. 3-0 in these short races is, well, it's massive.
And you got to have a penny for Adam Tom's thoughts. He's not going to have a hand on the table and be 3-0 down.
Yeah, how tough is that?
And the next break in Swinton and Ward's, there's a real potential that Adam Toms is going to not touch the table in the match.
I'm not sure that we've seen that yet. We've seen players only have one shot here or there, but I'm not sure we've seen anyone have no shots in a match. It can happen.
Yeah, just the nature of the beast, really. Ben Swinton was never missing these. He's taken them out with confidence and authority. And it's 3-0.
Barry and Toms did pull one back, but Swinton and Ward were able to wrap the match up 4 frames to 1. On to our second match then, and we join the group favourites in Greg Batten and Jez Graham halfway through the opening frame.
I'm not sure that Jez is quite straight enough here to screw back and develop the red and yellow. No, it's potentially a double, so that the red's actually clear. It's how are they going to deal with the 8-ball.
There's a little bit of conversation out there between the pair of them, but very little. But how do you solve a problem like the 8-ball?
Well, from the overhead, it doesn't look like there's a chance of it going. From the main camera, maybe the same. I just wonder whether it sneaks in half a pocket. Oh, now this is their attempt to move it. And they only managed to rock it one way, or at least that tells us it doesn't go completely, so we now know.
Got to play a big shot. They've got to play a really big shot.
Yeah, for me, they're just putting themselves into trouble here. I mean, it's going to be a big shot. It's not even that easy to get on it as a double. The yellows are guarding it. They were trying to come back out an extra 2 rolls, leave angle in the left centre, and then come down and get into it that way. This is thin now. I don't know if the natural's going into it. It's harder to manipulate that natural when it's so thin.
Is he looking at playing it to the bottom and trying to top through?
No. Don't think the angle's there for that either. Okay, double it is then.
I'll tell you what, that's not a bad shot. That is not a bad shot at all. Landed on the double, also moved the yellow out of the way for the double. Must be some finish. It would have been some finish. Greg Batten has already made a double in this frame. He didn't make this one, and in truth, he wasn't that close to it either. Well,
that was a bit of a free go at the double. Felt they weren't leaving anything on, and they may be able to see the 8-ball here, but I'm not sure you can play the double. Although Chez is a big-time shot maker. He really does have a box of tricks up his sleeve.
Oh, isn't he just? We saw that in the Grand Slam final. Some of the shots he played in that final were an absolute farce.
Did some filming with Jez and Greg before the show, and some of the tricks he was pulling out were eye-catching.
What's he got for us here? It's the cross double. Did it go? Not quite. Not quite. Was there enough room for it? There was.
Just about. I think it was hard to avoid it sort of double kissing the cue ball more than the yellow on the bottom cushion. Now we've used up all but half the match here. That should be the frame. Shouldn't be any mistakes from here.
Yeah, nice shot that from Ward Kennywood. Andrew Bartlett to get the job done. And he does just that. 1-0 then to the underdogs.
Greg Batten won the next frame to tie the scores up. Jez Graham is at the table in frame 3.
These balls are exploding tonight. They really are. Everybody that's broken off tonight is just getting huge breaks. And Chez has got a good chance here. Tricky next shot. If he's going to go bottom left, does anything go into the right centre? The one below the 8 ball's a problem ball. Well, we won't know because he's not on the next ball because he's missed. A draw for both of these pairs. That's quite a nice little loss of turn shot there. A draw for both of these pairs isn't the worst result. And the reason I mention it, there's only 3 minutes left. Because it means you go into your next 2 matches. If you win your next 2 matches, you still have qualification in your own hands. Worst way, you'd be in a 6-red shootout and you have power to win that 6-red. So it's not the end of the world for either.
Jez Graham's going game here. And I've got a huge amount of respect for it. What's he got for us here? Stop it. Oh. There is just no room for that double. There is just no room for it. That is an outrageous shot from Jez Graham. And then he misses the cut, wouldn't you know it?
Yeah, and he fouled. He hit the red when he cued this one. He put his fingers up to say 2 shots. It's still an old habit in the pool world that a foul is known as 2 shots, but you can clearly see there the cue ball, sorry, the tip of his cue hits the red. The shot before deserved the frame. It was unbelievably good. Double one into the right centre pocket there. And
there is just no angle on that whatsoever. That's an outrageously good shot. Oh, now then. Oh, that's such a loose one. Jez Graham may well end up getting the frame, and Ed Kennywood can't look. I'm not surprised. What a mistake to make. With less than 2 minutes of the match remaining. Jez Graham wins the frame.
That would be enough for Batten and Graham as the clock ran out in the next frame. Bartlett and Kennywood were straight back in action and they got themselves 2-1 in front after dropping the opening frame to Barry and Toms.
They can't bemoan a lack of chances. What a break.
I love this. Simple technique. Keeps the head still. Drives it. Look at that. Love that technique. He's not over-hitting it. He's still generating huge power. First shot key.
Oh, he didn't want that to drop in. But I've still got something, but it's so much more difficult than it might have been.
Yeah, they're not without a chance here. Would have helped them if that had stayed on the table at the top, but it's not too bad for them.
Oh, that's not good though. He's had a semi-result in that he's left the cue ball a little bit awkward and it's a tough opening shot, but other than that, there's no real positives. Ed Kennywood after it straight away. Played it well. The sort of missed pots that you can have when you haven't played a huge amount.
Yeah, it is. That previous shot they could have done with being an extra couple of rolls. You see the ball they're queuing over. They wanted to be on the angle they've got now then, but it's not that bad. In fact, it probably works out better for them because it means the path now is clear for this one to connect to the one at the bottom. You want to come past straight on this one. You wouldn't want to use the bottom cushion. Don't want to let those reds on the left-hand side come into play. So come past straight. Not quite. And it's hard to play this shot as topping it just off one cushion. You'd have to hit this really well.
Like that.
See how it kills it off the cushion, though? It's amazing. That's one of the shots you kind of, if you're not used to playing out there, can really get away from you. They've played it well.
Brilliant stuff, Andrew Bartlett and Ed Cunnyworth, and they're one from home after loading in about 1,000 tables on the Thursday.
Yeah, and he's an absolute machine at doing it as well.
Oh, I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah. Last chance saloon, you feel, here for Bowery and Toms. Quick finish required.
And they have got the chance to get one.
Yeah, the outside one of the two together goes, the right-hand one. So everything just opens out here.
Looks so much more comfortable, does Luke, when he's just pumping balls into pockets. When he's got to play a little bit of nip or anything a little bit more delicate, he doesn't look anywhere near as comfy, and that's understandable.
I think it's a similar story for a lot of players. So much easier just to be getting through the ball with positivity.
Lovely stuff from Luke Bowery. 3-2 then, 1:47 remaining.
A nice finish from Luke Bowery, but it was in vain as the clock ran out in the next frame. On to match 4, where the two winning pairs from our opening round of matches do battle.
This is the battle to decide who goes into the ascendancy, heading into the final round of fixtures in tonight's group. Greg Batten, the Pac-Man, on the break. That one comes up dry. The split looks clear. Reds look nice. And it's Pat Ward and Ben Swinton who will look to take them down.
Interesting matchup. Obviously, big match. Match 4 is always the biggest match of the night, assuming there's no draws in the group so far, because it's always the two winners that play each other. And for me, even though Greg and Chez come into tonight as good favourites for the group, if we're going on form from their first matches, I think Swinton and Ward looked stronger. Although they played a fantastic opening match, took out some really good finishes.
This will be some shot. Double kiss. Thought that looked really difficult.
And that was a big shot. They really wanted to be reds because of the layout. The 8-ball doesn't go at the bottom of the table, so they took a big risk to get reds, and they have left a red on here. And it means that Jez and Greg can get going. I am finding it fascinating that Greg doesn't want to get out of his chair until Jez has pots a ball. They're playing Scotch doubles. It is a 30-second shot clock. I'd want to be up there straight away. Have a chat about what the plan is. So just the only thing they need to mind here is just when they play the plant to the bottom right, just make sure they get that clean. So easy just to catch it a shade on the side, and then the red that you're hitting goes and sits behind the 8-ball, and all of a sudden you can't get out. You just got to be careful. It's not a difficult shot, just mind your work.
It sounds so easy. And it should be. It's just comes round to have a little look-see. And they're all good.
Yeah, until I sort my temperament out, I'm not coming back. Oh dear, disastrous break there from Pat. Straight into the right centre pocket, and look at what he has left here. He'll sit down or stand up, whichever way he's doing it, and he'll think that is frame over. Major shock if Greg Batten doesn't clear these up. Of course, you still have to work your way through and do them, but they are all just sat there. Greg's going to go for yellows. You can make a case both colour sets, really. Such is the quality of the split. Doesn't really have to play a shot here on yellows. Once you're behind the one down the bottom cushion, just make sure you're not straight so you can get the cue ball out. A couple of rolls for the other yellow. There really is nothing doing here. Not sure this was in the original plan. Well executed shot though.
Yeah, really nicely executed.
Now that one's up.
I've seen these two play. Not quite exhibition sort of stuff, but I mean sometimes Jez certainly did at the end of the first match, but they're very clearly almost playing with the shackles off. Playing very adventurous, very attacking, noticeably so.
It is Jez's style. He does like to throw the cue ball around and come up with those big shots.
It's not necessarily Greg's,
It's
though.
not Greg's, though. Greg's is much more about control and patterns and just doing everything well.
That was very nice, though, from Greg Batten, and in the blink of an eye, really. It's 2-0.
Ben Swinton won the third frame to make it 2 frames to 1 and has the break in frame 4.
Oh, another scratch. Another. With how well these balls are splitting tonight, there's no excuse for losing the cue ball, really. You can see the disappointment in Ben Swinton.
Yeah, you can't afford to do that when you're breaking this big. You can't give players of this level these opportunities. You can't rely on Chez missing another pot like he did in a previous frame. Such a big part of the game, it really is. Now going to be very disappointed. We also talk about it, the momentum of it, the building on the back of punishing a mistake. So when you get a mistake from an opponent like they got from Jez in the previous frame, not just winning that frame, win the next one as well. Make a ball off this one, make it clearance, make them sit and sweat it out. You just let them off the hook and they forget about the mistake, and all of a sudden the match gets away from you.
It's as much conversation as we've had from Greg and Jez all evening, really.
See a little trace of side on there, it hits the cushion and just adds a little trace of pace. It just lets it spin round.
There's friend of the show, Liam White. Danger Mouse himself.
This isn't as easy as it could have been to get good position on the 8 ball.
Yeah, it seems straightforward, right? But it should have been easier than this.
Yeah, it's actually easier when the red's further away from the pocket, because you can actually manipulate the pocket so much. Picking the line to screw this one straight back is difficult. And sometimes you can just land a little awkward on the 8 ball here.
Played it well.
Decent shot, yeah. I mean, I know you're probably looking at it, watching it and thinking, I mean, what you're talking about is easy. It's over the pocket. You screw back a foot or two, and you're good. But that is amazing how much that can get away from you.
Jez Graham punches in the 8-ball, 3-1 then.
Greg Batten wrapped up victory for his partnership in the next frame. Swinton and Ward are straight back in action against Butler and Kennywood. The opening 2 frames were shared. We join Ben Swinton at the table in frame 3.
I'm not sure he's intentionally played it off thread or not, but it's worked out beautifully. So now all the attention turns back down to the 8-ball. The red by the 8-ball does sneak in, but it's not a full pocket. And therefore, do you really want to go down there and use that as your developing ball or not? You'd need precise position on it to do that as well. Could be one that you just accept the double on the 8-ball.
I think you have to. It's so difficult to see how that yellow can be moved out of the way. We got a trampoline bounce off that bottom cushion there.
Yeah, it has come up a bit more than he wanted, but he's still okay. I think he can still just nip this one in enough to control the cue ball. This cloth is so responsive. If you just cue this one nicely, allow the spin to take, he can just get the cue ball tracking down the centre of the table. And if he is playing for the double, there's a bit of margin of error.
There's not that much room in that middle back, Ben. Oh, well, well. You can see why it's not as bad a miss as it looks. He's just tried to hold the cue ball there, so he's trying to pot it into the thickest part of the pocket that he can find. Kennywood here with a massive chance to put his pairing 2-1 up.
For me, I'd want to get rid of the yellow over the bottom pocket early. Can't leave that one as your ball to get onto the 8-ball. For me, I'd take the one to the bottom left now, play the gap, and then you can get the cue ball back to middle of the table.
If he tried to play on it there, he's not on it.
Yeah, I'm sure he did. He lined it up previously. He was trying to play down the line towards it. Now he's got to play a tough pot and get the gap. And it's hard to get on the 8-ball from where he's going to land. And he can't get on the 8-ball from there. He can't pop the yellow from there.
Safety it is. It's not... Well, has he left line of sight through to that red to the top left? Because if he has...
Oh, he has. Easy safety here. I just think when Ed Kennywood
Can you squeeze it through there?
No. Wow.
Not quite. And that will lose the frame.
Yeah, I just think when Ed Kennywood watches this back, he was perfect to get rid of that one over the bottom right-hand corner really early in that visit. He was absolutely straight in on the one to the bottom left with a stun shot, and he's there. And then it makes his finish really quite simple out thereafter. So it's a sort of frame that's got away from him because of a decision he's made.
That frame would be enough for victory as the clock ran out for Butler and Kennywood in the next frame. On to our final match then. Greg Batten and Jez Graham just need to avoid defeat to top the group. They're up against Barry and Toms, and they lost the opening frame.
Catch me outside. Having a go at the 6 threads.
Just get some positive thoughts there. Just go to a practice table and just have a little go. Look at this again. I'll tell you what, he's done this all night long. His break has been incredible. Luke is really flushing it.
Yeah, you mentioned the break there, and from a technical standpoint, you talked earlier about his head being still. Why is that such a key tenet of a good break?
You see it in a variety of different ways. There are other ways of doing it. You see in other sports, NLQ sports, especially like in American pool, you see a lot of players kind of really putting everything into it, jumping up on the shot, so there's a lot of movement. But for me, it's on these super fine cloths, when you've got perfect balls and perfect conditions, you want to get power without having to overhit it, because the minute you start moving that head, you lose all shape, all technique, and then you can misstrike the cue ball. And if you misstrike the cue ball, you misstrike the front ball, all of a sudden there's no power going through the pack, and you've wasted all the power you've generated by moving. So I quite like the fact he stays just an inch or two higher on it than his normal technique, holds that head still and just cues through it. It really is a lovely breaking technique.
But it's not quite gone for him, because he overran that last positional shot by just half a ball, and it meant he was snooking on the ball that he wanted to take down the left rail. Tried to get out of dodge with a double, hasn't achieved it, and now invites Greg Batten back to the table. Yellow's tricky though, make no mistake.
Tried to nudge open the 8 ball there. Does he chase? Big decision coming up here for Greg Batten. If he goes for it and doesn't get it, is he going to be opening up the game for Reds and Luke Bowery? Because he's odds against getting it for me here. I suppose it's not too bad if he plays this yellow off the... If he can play it off the red, at least it opens up that yellow to the middle pocket. Could play it off the yellow. Watch where the yellow goes. It's the red. But still about the 8 ball for me.
Can double it, but I still think that's asking an awful lot. Tries to go into it, succeeds.
He'll take that. Hard to play the one to the bottom left and get good position on the one on the right-hand side. Could play it. It's easy enough to come back and play for the double, but then if you come back and play for the double, it's not easy to get good position on the 8 ball unless you're perfect on the double. So he's tried to get good on the yellow. Needs it to keep going. It was tracking the right way, but it's a good couple of rolls short. Okay, he can still make the pot, but the cue ball's got to come twice across.
I like the way he's gone about that. It was a nice idea. He tried to play it on it in the middle pocket.
And he's still on it in the middle pocket. He's done enough.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tougher shot than he would have wanted, but he's still okay. Very nicely done. 1-1. It's a better break. And there, I suppose you see from a technical sort of aspect, when you see it in slow motion, Jez is a little bit less steady, shall we say. As you rightly mentioned before, there's no right or wrong way to break necessarily, but you can probably see why Luke's might be a bit more consistent.
Yeah, we do see that with Jez from time to time. He'll come off the break occasionally.
Kennyworth watching on. So too are the potential profiteers.
I quite like that. They're out there, table side.
Well, answers your question, your wonderment from earlier.
But we often see players in this sort of situation and they go and hide in the back room and you don't get to see them. They're kind of watching out the corner of their eye and one of the screens out the back, and they're not. They're right there. Table side, I'm not exactly going to be cheering them on. It's not the right thing to do, but they're certainly inside they are. At the moment, they're going to have to sit and wait because Chez has got this visit under complete control and has done the whole way through it. Plenty of room here for Chez. Would have liked to have been a little bit shorter, but not a problem. Really has accepted a tricky position on the 8-ball. Didn't try and do anything more than this.
Yeah, really nice. Might have to ask them about that if I get the chance.
Well, knowing Jez, he's probably a little bit worried about letting a swear word out, and that's maybe why he's hiding it.
That'll do for Toms. Balling off the break, all he wanted. And for Luke Bowery, first shot.
Chance on yellows. Good connections required, good pattern required. Yellow at the top of the table doesn't have a natural home, but you've got the one next to it to then play short position on it. Everything else. Does the one in the middle of the table, the one nearest the 8-ball, have a good pocket? Left centre, but hard to get onto it left centre. Don't know if it goes bottom right. They're not good on the next ball here. They're actually a little bit tricky. Well, you heard him say he didn't know whether he could hold it. What he was talking about was he wanted to be straight in on the yellow to the right centre, then to get onto the one to the left centre. And he missed it thick because that meant the cue ball was coming off slower. It was a tough pot as well.
Well, Reds have some things to work out. The Reds at the top of the table are a bit of an issue.
Yeah, one developing shot solves them both if it goes well. I think they're okay. I think they can get enough side on this one to screw inside across to get the cannon. Yeah, you can see he's looking at using the top cushion. Bit of bottom left, spin it across.
Nice. As we hear from the man in charge, Orange Tersgale lets us know the 15-second shot clock is now in play. And that will just speed up the process, I think, for Greg Batten and Jez Graham in taking this frame down.
Key shot for the finish. Getting on the next ball from here. Well, are they just accepting the plan? They
Looks
are.
like it, which... I mean, they've played some stuff tonight, these two.
Watch the 8-ball as well.
Yeah, that was tough. That was seriously tough. Amazed they left it till that stage in the visit to sort of worry about that.
I'm not amazed they left it that late. I'm just amazed they didn't try and do more with the previous shot. I guess they were accepting what they had. It wasn't easy to get better position on anything else, but they had to develop the ones at the top before they worried about the bottom. I guess once you're up there, you might as well, you've got to clear them.
Oh, well, it's a let-off. Although, and the first thing Greg went to check was if that 8 ball passes the yellow, and guessing by his body language that it does. But there was a real chance, if that finish was taken out, that things were going to get really mixy. The fine on the shot clock. All good. I mean, that looks tight to me the more I look at it. But
well, I just wonder if they're thinking about playing the red off the 8 ball.
This is tough, though.
It's not. The 8 ball's quite low. It makes it tight.
Oh, it's come out really nice. That's such a good shot. If you sort of played the... Oh, just about, Jez, just about.
And that frame would be enough for Jez Graham and Greg Batten, as they were able to run the clock out in the next frame to guarantee victory and make it 3 wins from 3 and smooth progress into the second stage of the Pairs Cup. Coming up next week in the Ultimate Pool Pairs Cup, it's week 13 and Ryan Day makes his Ultimate Pool debut. The world snooker star who has just won the big British Open, he replaces Mark Williams, who has had to pull out because he's been called up to the tournament in Hong Kong. He will now partner Carl Morris. Up against them, Neil Raybone and Andy Blurton, Adam Basu and Dave Fernandez, Ben Flack and Lukash Badhan. All 4 pairs will think they've got a very real chance of topping this group and making it through to the second stage. All the action gets underway 6:30 on Monday 10th of October on Ultimate Pool TV and Free Sports. It is definitely one not to be missed, and I'll be back next week for a roundup of all the action.